quiet in my house right now. Like, normally there's the air purifier and the bathroom fan and kids all running around upstairs and cats fighting and the TV's on. And there's none of that. It is very quiet and it's kind of eerie. Also a little peaceful. I mean, look, she is sleeping so good. And all tiny. But so hi. I wanted to try a different style of video today. I didn't post last month, which it sucks. I'm frustrated about it a little bit, but it's okay. I'm gonna do 2 videos this month. This one, and then I'll finish that other video because it's like 10 plus minutes and so much drawing, and I needed a break. So I thought it would be fun to do something more casual, kind of like a draw with me and let's just chat like we're FaceTiming then. But I actually won't have the phone on me like this the whole time. This is just for my intro. I sharpened the last couple pencils. I tend to mostly do digital art with kids around. It's just what's most convenient because if they bump me, I can press undo. And I get most of my commission work tends to be digital related stuff, but I do dabble in traditional when I can. It's usually like once a year I get the motivation, usually around my husband's birthday, to paint something. I didn't do anything this year because we were planning a wedding, so maybe next year I'll get a painting. But I thought it would be fun to try colored pencils. I had these new packs of Prismacolors, and I haven't really touched colored pencils since like high school. So let's just see how that goes. I've loved anime for like ever. But no, from the early days of watching dubbed anime on 4Kids TV in the mornings, or having to watch anime in like 10-minute increments on YouTube, I think I can call myself a lifelong fan. And it's definitely always been a huge influence on my art and drawings and really like all my hobbies and interests. Going into high school, I was super cringe, and so I'd always either be drawing anime stuff or like weird cartoony animals or something creepy. I don't know, I was weird. But I did really well in my art classes, so much so that my sophomore year I was able to join the juniors and seniors in AP or advanced placement art classes. My high school art teacher was mostly encouraging of my strange tastes and really forgiving towards me with how rebellious I'd be in following project qualifications. I'd often cut corners in what's considered the proper techniques and try to put my own touch or style into everything I made, for better or for worse. But the one thing she was super firm on was anime, or more so firm on being anti-anime. She forbade anime in projects, and if I wanted to draw Pokemon, they'd have to be drawn more realistic-ish. And she really tried to drill it in my head that if I wanted to someday be a professional money-making artist, I'd have to kick anime to the curb. You'll never make money drawing anime, she told me, and I listened. In AP Art, you submit a portfolio for review by someone higher up. I'm not even sure who, but as a high school student, it was a pretty big deal. You submit 15 pieces, and then together they're all scored between a 1 to 5, I think. 5 being the ultimate goal. The theme of my portfolio was along the lines of like childhood fears. Think like creepy dolls, clowns, sort of Five Nights at Freddy's vibes, but this was before Five Nights at Freddy's was even a thing. My goal was to do all of my pieces in colored pencil, which didn't last long. The thing about colored pencils is that it can feel a little tedious. You have to layer the colors and kind of start really light and then build on it, and if you want to mix the colors to kind of get the color that you want, you're building it more and blending, and you have to press really hard to get that rich saturation, and it can just get so tiring. Even drawing this made my hand so tired, so like back then, having to do 15 fully colored illustrated pieces was just way too much. One that I'd finished was like a lost kid going down a grocery store aisle, but all the items were monsters, and it was really dramatic and exaggerated and kind of like looking down at him. And I remember after that one just calling it quits. I was so done. So last minute I changed my portfolio theme to rabbits. All the drawings were done with pencil and charcoal, and it went by much quicker, and despite sort of rushing it and doing it last minute, I got a 4. I wish I could find any of those pieces because I remember feeling really proud of some of them, but maybe it's for the best because I'm sure if I saw them now I'd just cringe a little bit. Then my junior and senior year, I took classes at a community college. There is this program in Washington, probably other places too, but here in Washington it's called Running Start, and it's where you can take college classes and get college credit while you're still in high school. And so you can potentially graduate with a 2-year associate's degree, which I did not do because I mostly took electives, but I think my younger brother did do it, and then my sister is doing it now, and so good for them. They are better than me. At the college, I took a ton of art classes taught by one professor in particular. I really enjoyed all of his teaching styles, and through him, I tried a lot of new different things like ceramics, design, and more advanced levels of drawing and painting than I'd had in high school. One thing that I really loved about his classes was that he'd use interesting and unexpected examples, oftentimes anime. I remember watching scenes from stuff like Paprika, Akira, Ghibli, and so much more. It was really cool, and we'd have some great one-on-one conversations about anime, and they were just so opposite of the conversations I had with my high school teacher. He was so encouraging, and back then my anime-ish style of art was just really not anything worth encouraging, but he was adamant that I should continue to draw anime stuff and really hone that skill, and he made it clear that I most definitely could succeed as a paid artist doing anime. And he was right. After high school, I took a big break from art and focused on working and trying to take care of my kids, but after watching My Hero Academia, I remember just feeling so inspired to get back into drawing and creating things, and over the years, I quickly improved enough. I was able to start a business, and then with it, I succeeded enough that I could profit off of it and do it full-time and support my family for a few years. It's really slowed down a lot now, and I'm trying new stuff like the YouTube and other things, but the lesson, kids, is that if your teachers or parents are telling you that anime is for kids and it won't ever make you money, they are wrong. And you know what? So what if certain media is for kids? If you enjoy it, then that's great. Who cares? Also, it's not like it's kids making that stuff. There has to be adults who make the content for children, and somebody has got to do it. So if you like that stuff, then power to you. I've always been pretty grateful for how my parents supported my interests and passions over the years. My dad would always buy me these how to draw anime books that I would sit and study and trace for hours and hours and hours. And then my mom, she'd record all of my little shows and cartoons for me while I was at school or at a cousin's house for the weekend, and I had so many VHS recordings of Hamtaro that she'd keep for me to watch until I got home. Her birthday is this week, so happy birthday, Mom! I love you! She invited the family over to her and her boyfriend's property this last weekend to celebrate, and it's a nice plot of land. They've been working on it and building off of it for the past year or so, and it's sort of out in the middle of nowhere. Well, not nowhere, but it's deep into the forest and mountains and a good hour or so out of the main cities. The drive is long, but it's also very beautiful. For parts of it, you get blinded by the sun reflecting off of the river water, and then others you're completely shaded by tall, thick, mossy trees that loom over you. The roads are tight and windy, and with my old car, we go under the speed limit because it can barely handle the big incline. At my mom's, the kids played in a little river creek area where the water was super cold and the rocks are deathly slippery to try and walk across. It was really fun and relaxing though, and the food was so good. My mom's boyfriend made some really good barbecue ribs, and I brought like 2 dozen donuts because I love donuts. My uncle brought this Cambodian dessert called nong kong, which I think they said translates to literally like circle bread. It's pretty much donuts. They're chewy with an almost mochi-like texture and covered in this incredibly sticky sesame brown sugar glaze. It's so good, but oh my gosh, the stickiness in your teeth is awful. It's like trying to chew on like a chunk of tacky caramel, and it just gets so stuck and you have to pick it out with your fingers, and that whole part's gross, but they taste so good. After we were there for hours and hours, we decided to head home before it got too late and dark out. My younger cousin and son had asked if they could have a sleepover together, and my aunt said she was fine with it too, so I agreed and made plans to pick him up the next morning. After double checking that my son did in fact want to have a sleepover and that he would be okay without us, we said our goodbyes to everybody, and my husband and I headed out on the road. We were not even like 10 minutes out when I get a call from my aunt. She said, yeah, so he changed his mind and he's pretty sad now. I wasn't surprised though. I was kind of half expecting him to bail, and so I was just really glad that it was sooner rather than later. It took another minute before I could find a spot in the road where I could turn around, and eventually there was this patch of dirt where I could pull into it and then kind of back out and then make our way back towards the property. We were back on the small windy roads, and I'm just enjoying the view and listening to my husband next to me while he's streaming some like new Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle announcement thing on his phone. The sun was poking through the tree branches, and it made the road look a little bit spotty and multicolored. And so because of that, it's not until the literal last second that I see this giant stick in the road. This thing is literally taking up like the entire lane. It was too late for me to gently go around it, and so to avoid any dangerous swerving, I just drove over it. And then with it, you could feel my car go over like the big bump, and then it makes the loudest like thwack noise ever. My husband was of course freaked out, and he was like, "What did you just hit?" And I told him it was this giant stick, and he's asking me why I didn't go around it, and I tried to explain it was just too big. And while this is all happening, the car is just making this awful loud like dragging noise. It took another moment before I could find a spot to safely pull over because there's just nowhere. It's like these thin mountain roads. So as soon as I can, I parked in front of, it looked like kind of a road that would go off the road into like somebody's private property entrance. It was a rundown place in the woods with a lot down a path full of old junk looking cars, and a rusty deer hunting sign was nailed to a tree next to the road. We didn't pay it much attention though, because we were just more interested in the giant stick that was stuck beneath my car. This thing was practically as long as my entire car's length. Somehow it had stuck down the center and wedged between some sort of metal pipe or bar that was connected to the back tires. I don't know car anatomy enough to really understand it. All we knew is that this stick was stuck really, really good and we could not pull it out. We're both on the ground trying to get a good look and like grasp at it and see if we can move it anywhere, but we suddenly hear a low, gruff voice from behind us say, "You folks having car troubles?" It was only then when I noticed the sound of small, yappy dogs barking in the nearby distance, and I immediately get up and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry to disturb your puppies." And he approaches us, and the judgmental part of me was a little bit scared. He literally looked like this. Except minus the hat. And mustache, maybe. I don't remember if he had facial hair now. But he just had like the look of a gruff mountain man. The kind that could kidnap innocent people driving by after laying out a stick trap to break down their cars and then eat them for dinner. No. He was very friendly, and he got down with us to look at the car. Right away, he was like, "Oh yeah, we'll need to saw this guy out. But don't worry, I'm kind of a lumberjack." And so he says that he'll be right back, and he goes back towards his place. Soon he comes back to us, and with a giant, like, machete-looking knife in his hand, Again, it was a little bit scary, but I was already anxious about the car stick situation enough, and so I was just praying that he wasn't there to murder us. He gets down again and saws away at the stick until it snaps into pieces, and then he pulls out the chunks and tosses them into the bushes behind us. The rest of the car looked fine. The metal was a tiny bit scratched, but otherwise there was no damage, and thankfully no pop tires. We thank him profusely for all of his help, and then he shakes it off, saying that it was actually pretty common for people to have some sort of car issues nearby. We got back to my mom, picked up my son, and then safely made it home that night without any other problems, thankfully. Thank you, Super Mario character looking man, for saving us. Speaking of Mario, we have just started playing Mario Kart World, which is kind of why I drew this today. It actually took us a few weeks to get our hands on a Switch 2. My brother-in-law had pre-ordered one, but then there was weird issues with his pre-order, and I think it got canceled in the end, so he ended up going to a Walmart the day of release and just picked one up there. He texted us and asked if we wanted him to snag one for us too, and then we were like, nah. But I think soon after, my husband was feeling regrets because every time we'd be at a grocery store shopping, he would jokingly say, hey, check for Switch 2s, or do they have any Switch 2s in stock? And then the joke quickly became not a joke because we started seriously hunting around. Every time I was within like a 5-minute radius from a Target, Best Buy, GameStop, Walmart, Staples, wherever, I'd be running in to check with no luck each and every time. My kids got sick of it pretty quick, and the excitement of a possible Switch 2 died down. Part of why I think we were so eager is because we had this Visa gift card we saved, and so in our heads it was like we were actually getting the Switch 2 for way cheaper. Girl math. Anyways, we kept looking every chance we got. There was one weekend where it was just the two of us, and we went to one Target, and then we thought to call some other Targets in neighboring cities. So I was calling around, and finally, one Target tells us they have one left in stock. I told the girl that we'd love to buy it, and she was so sweet and friendly and was like, great, I'll put it at the front desk for you, so you guys, just when you get here, just come ask for it, and we'll have it ready. I told her that we'll be there in like 20 minutes, and we raced there right away. So my husband and I walk into the Target, and we made a beeline for the customer service desk. There's two guys in front of us. The one at the front is standing with his kid that looked to be about my son's age, and we realized in horror that they were buying a Switch 2, like our Switch 2. We both look at each other and we were just like, no. Still, we waited in line just to try and be positive, and yeah. Sure enough, that was the only one that they'd had in stock, and he beat us by not even 5 minutes. My poor husband was pretty disappointed, and we went home to mourn the loss of what could have been. But then, later that week, I think it was my brother-in-law again that had sent us a Reddit link saying that some of the grocery stores in Seattle were having huge restocks on Switch 2s. So we got in the car and we drove not too far to get to this Fred Meyer's. And there was a couple people in front of us again. But they really did have a bunch in stock, and so it finally happened. We got our Switch 2! It was a Christmas miracle in June, and at that point though, my kids had played my brother-in-law Switch 2 a couple of times, and I don't think they cared as much as we did anymore. But still, we were feeling excited and very accomplished. Since then, we've played Mario Kart World a good amount of times, and I'll admit, I wasn't super impressed at first. I wasn't a big fan of the new Rainbow Road, and some of the concepts kind of went over my head. The whole open world layout felt really intimidating because I'm just really bad at open world games, but once I finally understood the knockout tour races and how that worked, and I got better about finding the little food bags on the tracks, the ones that can give you the new character skins, I was sold. I was hoping that Yoshi's skins would all be a little bit cuter, but they're okay. The ones that I'm really impressed with though are Peach's. Her Sunday dress outfit is so cute, and I love her little Miss Rachel farming overalls. It's so cute. But my favorite one is the Yukata festival skin because oh my goodness, it is so cute and pretty, which is why I drew it. Funny enough though, after I started the line art, I realized I might have made a big mistake choosing to draw this particular skin or design. Just because there's like so much white, and the little bits of white on the mushroom and on Yoshi weren't too concerning. But then I realized that her entire outfit, like the yukata itself, is white. And I don't have gray colored pencils, which I think actually in the end worked in my favor. Instead of using a gray for the shading, I had to make a mix of purple and blue to blend into the whites and trick the eye into looking gray. Color theory! And overall, I think it gives everything a better tone than if I had just used like a regular gray. Going in at the end with my little white pen is one of my favorite parts. I really enjoy adding the little highlights and shines. I might go in later with white paint to clear up the smudging and little color freckles that happen in the back, but looking at it all together complete, I'm pretty proud of this for my first time trying out colored pencils in over 10 years. Let me know what you think, and if there's any other characters or series you'd like me to try drawing out next time. Thank you so much for hanging out today and drawing along with me, and I will see you all again soon. Bye bye!